Hey guys, I'm Dr. Colin Haines from Virginia Spine Institute. And in honor of World Spine Day, which is happening this Friday, I want to go over some of the most common questions that my patients ask. Also, I'd encourage you, if you're watching live, feel free to type in the comment section any questions you may have, and I'm happy to go over them at the end. Well, it's never lost on both myself and my partners here at the Virginia Spine Institute that 2020 has been a bit of a hard year. A lot of stuff's going on in the world, and we're all built up with anxiety and stress. And one of the last things that we're thinking about is our own spinal health. Well, the reality is we're actually having more and more patients come to the office with spinal pain, with neck pain and low back pain. And largely it's because of the work from home as well as learn from home economy that COVID's had us have to have. So what I wanted to go over was some of the most common things that are causing my patients problems, and also some of the fixes we can do to help them out. Well, there's no doubt that we're staring at computer screens more than we ever have before. Certainly this hits me at home. I have two young daughters who are educating from home, staring at iPads, staring at laptops, and it's hard. Not only that, the parents themselves are stressed out trying to keep their kids connected while they're also staring at laptops on their own and working from home. So importantly, in order to minimize neck pain, I want to make sure that the monitors are eye level. If we hunch forward too much, what we actually do is we stretch the neck muscles in the back, and we also squish the discs, the shock absorbers that actually live in the front. So the more flexion forward, more of the chin to your chest is actually a bad thing. In order to fix this, what I encourage you to do, elevate that monitor up. If you have a desktop monitor, it's very easy. Just either put it on some textbooks. You don't have to have an expensive ergonomic standing desk necessarily. Just elevate that monitor relatively flat with your eye level. That way you're not hunching forward all day long. Also, make sure you take breaks from the computer screen. Ophthalmologists actually recommend a 20-20-20 rule. And what that means, every 20 minutes, take a break from looking at a monitor for at least 20 seconds and stare off at least 20 feet in the distance. What that does is it gives your eyes a nice break. And I encourage you to set a timer. We know we all get engrossed in our work, engrossed in our education, so have that tangible checkpoint to tell yourself to actually rest. Now, not just as your neck and your eyes are at risk, but your low back is at risk as well. Now, with both your neck and your low back, the posture I want you to maintain when you're sitting is the same posture you maintain when you're standing. And what that means is a gentle curvature backwards. Try to sit upright. And there are a couple of tricks to this. Ideally, you don't need to have an expensive ergonomic chair, but you also don't want something that's too plush that conforms to your low back. We want to make sure that it's a relatively firm chair, and also one simple trick, put a rolled towel behind the small of your back. That helps accentuate and maintain your low back curve. In addition, we want your feet on the floor. Well, when your hips and your knees are at the 90-90 angle, it allows your low back to be relatively supported. Avoid that temptation of putting your feet up on the nearby chair, because what that actually does is that further squishes the discs and it further stretches the muscles in the low back. So be very careful and try to keep your feet nicely planted. Well, it's not just our necks and the low back that are actually at risk. Some of the nerves in our arms are at risk too. Now, if you have nerve pressure anywhere from your neck, your shoulder, or even down in your arm, that can cause irritating numbness, tingling, and even pain shooting down into the fingers. Well, while the most common site of nerve pressure is in the neck, what we're also susceptible to is the funny bone. The funny bone is just the nerve that lives right on the inside of your elbow itself. Now, I know we've all had that awful experience where we bump the inside of our elbow and we get this sharp numbness and tingling and pain shooting down the arm. But that can actually happen on a more prolonged basis as well. I see it very commonly when people are at the computers all day long and using their desks. What we don't want to do is flex our elbows up too much for too long. When you flex the elbow, it actually stretches that nerve, and too much nerve stretching can be a bad thing. The other thing I see is people put direct pressure on that elbow. When we're sitting all day at a desk, the tendency is to put the inside of the elbow directly down on a hard surface like a desk. Well, try to avoid that tendency. Avoid putting pressure directly on the inside of the elbow, and if you need to rest your elbows, try to have a rest on the point of the elbow as opposed to the inside, because that nerve doesn't live on that direct point. Also, stretch your arms. Make sure they're not flexed all day long. Avoid looking at your cell phone constantly, and try to put your arms on a pillow so that while you're still using either your tablet or your cell phone, you can do so with your arms in a more relaxed position. And I'll tell you, the last thing is pretty common sense, but almost arguably the most important. Breathe. Try to have fun and relax. Importantly, Exercise, get the muscles pumping, eat a proper diet, and get rest. In general, overall good health is the same thing as good spinal health. So the more we're able to relax and heal throughout the day, the more we're able to grow and fight off these tiny little injuries that build up throughout the day with time. So with that, I'd like to open this up for questions. And I had a couple of great questions from my patients today, and I wanted to go over one of them. Patient asked me, if you're having back pain, if you're having neck pain, is it better to rest completely and lie down in bed all day? Or is it better to get up and try to walk around a bit and try to work through the pain? Well, while I don't want you to directly work through the pain, so to say, what I do want you to do, get up and get those muscles pumping. So if you have a disc herniation or tear in the disc itself, the thing that happens secondary to that is the muscle spasm. And spasmy muscles get very, very tight. Oftentimes it's those tight muscles that cause the majority of the pain. So if you're lying in bed all day, you don't actually get the blood flowing to the muscles. You don't get the blood flowing to the discs because you don't get things healing up. The muscles get even tighter and tighter and tighter, and it becomes this sort of vicious cycle. So importantly, inactivity is bad, activity is good. We want you moving around, we want those muscles working, and that's why we recommend our patients when they first develop pain to come see us so quickly, because while it's incredibly rare that we're talking about surgery at that point, what's extremely common is we get them patients into physical therapy, getting the muscles moving and getting them on the road to recovery. So inactivity is bad. We have another question coming through saying, talking about elbows resting on the desk. And the question here is, if we rest at a desk for too long and we put pressure on the inside of the elbow, is there any potential long-term damage being caused? Well, most of the time, fortunately, no, but there are times where the answer, unfortunately, is yes. So if symptoms present, if you start developing pain, numbness, tingling, and irritation from that funny bone, that can potentially be a progressive thing that can build with time. So in general, if it doesn't hurt, you're being relatively safe to your nerves. If symptoms start showing up, progressive pressure and progressive nerve damage can exist. So the most important thing, try to develop these good habits so that if symptoms do develop, you can very quickly fix the problem. I got another great question today, and it's about workstations. So we're not all blessed with a wonderful office, we're not all blessed with this great ergonomic workstation, and we're salvage situations. People are working on their, they're working in bed, they're working on, I've heard of people working on their toilets and working on dishwashers. What's the best possible workstation to be in? In general, we want something, as I mentioned before, where you're able to maintain a good posture in both your neck and in your low back. So things where you're hunching forward, like lying in bed. Boy, I know it's easy and fun to work in the bed, but I would very much fight that temptation because that's really hard on your neck and your low back since it keeps you in this flexed forward position. Again, the position that that does risk both the muscles and the nerves predominantly. Also, I don't want you in a plush lazy boy or something where you're too reclined. Have a relatively firm chair where you're able to sit upright. And again, if you can maintain your low back posture with a simple rolled up towel or a sheet or even a small pillow on your back, that's ideal. Also, I'd recommend take breaks. Set a timer every 30 minutes because when you're fixed in one position for too long, that runs the risk of getting the muscles tight and potentially injuring the spine. So every 30 minutes, set a timer, get a break, get up, stretch, get those muscles pumping. I have another question going over different types of desks. So the question is, are standing desks better than traditional sitting desks? And do we need to do anything specific with a standing desk? Well, I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of standing desks. And it's not that standing necessarily has to be the end game, but it gives you the flexibility of going from sitting to standing. So in general terms, sitting, especially with suboptimal posture, can potentially result in low back pain from that flexed forward position and can result in disc irritation. Well, a standing desk simply gives you the opportunity to stand upright and rest the back. In general, believe it or not, standing is easier on your discs and your back than sitting down. So the standing offers you that flexibility to transition different postures. Now, with that being said, standing tends to cause the muscles themselves to work, and over time they can tighten up. So there are some people who say when they stand all day long, that actually their back hurts more. So that's really the beauty of a standing desk, is you can alternate postures. And again, using that 30-minute timer, I typically recommend people change their posture every 30 minutes, going from sitting to standing, and really set a timer. Now, for anything specific for a standing desk, it doesn't have to be one of these extremely expensive ones that rises up and goes down, frankly. You can even just artificially create one yourself. If you have a bar in your house, just you can put your laptop up there. If you want to simulate a standing desk, you can put your computer up on a bunch of textbooks or newspapers. So it doesn't have to be something overly expensive. Simple fixes are really the best thing for your spine. So with that, I'll wrap up here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Dr. Tom Schuler will be joining here to talk about what's behind the Virginia Spine Experience, as well as answer some of your questions as well. All right. Have a great day.